Once again, thank you for tuning in to Ask Chuck webcast once a week. Glad to communicate with you this way. Thank you very much for your questions and questions that have been asked that won't be answered this way will be answered by mail or email. Thank you very much for your questions, and I'll go immediately to a question from Bob in Hudson, Iowa. He emails, "Are you working with any other congressman to stop the cap and tax legislation?" Very definitely yes. Most of the Republican caucus is opposed to it, and several people in the Democratic caucus opposed to it as well. Outstanding of that group would be Senator Rockefeller. I believe he's from West Virginia. I believe that he opposes it, and I believe that Senator Bai from Indiana opposes it. But generally speaking, you have senators, both Republican and Democrat, of the Midwest and the Southeast of the United States that tend to oppose it. So yes, we're working with colleagues enough that I think that it may not come up in the United States Senate this year, but if it does, I think I can predict that it would not get the 60 votes that it would take to get to finality. The next question comes from Facebook. Rachel at Lakeview asked, "What is the future for our Medicare reimbursement rates?" Well, that future is very good, because one of the things that we're going to do is move from reimbursement based on quantity. In other words, how often do you go to the doctor, because that's what it takes for a doctor to get money from Medicare, to reimbursement based on quality, because we want to emphasize quality for a national reason, that doing health care right the first time is an incentive to do it. Do it right the first time, then it cuts down on costs, because when you have to go back to the hospital when it isn't done right the first time, the second trip is usually costlier. And secondly, because in rural America, including Iowa, we deliver high quality health care, but we're not reimbursed. So to bring equity to reimbursement for Medicare, it's pretty good for us in rural America to have reimbursement based on quality. You know, Iowa tends to be 5th in the nation on quality. So thank you very much, both of you, for the questions we just had. And I'll sum up by saying that the work of this Senate this week will be a third week being on what we call the tax extenders legislation. And we'll also continue to have some votes on nominations for our court system. In other words, confirmation by the United States Senate for confirmation of district and circuit court judges. Next week will be one more week that we have Ask Chuck before we take a 4th of July break, and then we'll be back after the 4th of July break for another 5 weeks of session before summer break, the month of August. Thank you all very much for participating.